Thank you, Alexa. Next, I'd like to welcome up Kate Mayne. Kate is an independent farm advisor providing waste permitting compliance support to AD facilities and on-farm environmental advice. She is clerk for the Stroud Internal Drainage Board in Shropshire and is an agricultural representative on the excellently named Shropshire Middle 7 Catchment-Based Approach Partnership. She is also a partner in the family farming business. Beyond work, she's in tennis, netball, cricket, a mum of 2, and a trustee of the Shropshire Wildlife Trust. Her topic is building cross-sector bridges and engaging farmers to own the environmental agenda. Thank you, Kate.
That's such a relief because I've been stressing over that step all morning. I just want to start by admitting that I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, going on when I came to my first Nuffield conference. But I have also been blown away by the welcome I've had into the Nuffield family. I don't know where to start with thank yous, except to say I'm so grateful to so many people for your kindness and your support and your friendship. Thank you. My heartfelt thanks also go to the National Trust and the Three Counties Agricultural Society, who both sponsored my scholarship. I get really overexcited about this topic, and I'm so glad that you didn't think I was just silly. So thank you. So study travel on my own, for me personally, was quite a big thing, and it took me out of my comfort zone. But it has been a fantastic opportunity to visit some really beautiful and less beautiful places and meet some like-minded people who love the countryside like I do. It's amazing how barriers are broken down when we talk about farming, and fussing over the farm dog, that helps as well. In Romania, I discovered that language barriers are broken down by consumption of red wine. So, the demands on our countryside, they are now more complex and more challenging than ever. By the time I finish this presentation, there will be 1,500 more people on Earth needing to be fed. And yet, we cannot just think ourselves as farmers, as food producers. Society requires us as an industry to recover biodiversity, to provide flood mitigation services, to capture carbon and produce green power. Our growing population demands recreational provisions from the countryside, health and well-being solutions, and wants a return of wild places to our landscape. The complexity of these demands has created conflict amongst the stakeholders as to how we prioritise them and where the answers lie. And the media stoke the conflict with its abundant reporting of bad news stories about agriculture and its awful impact on the environment, so that we've got this angry and scared public and an increasingly vocal green sector who are demanding more regulation on agriculture. And this is not just a UK phenomenon. In Queensland, the debate is so toxic that farmers have set up the Green Shirts movement, which is a pressure group united against green politics, which, interestingly, they believe is having a negative impact not only on their livelihoods, but also on the environment that is trying to protect. I spent an awesome day with Marty Bella, ex-Australian rugby league player and founder of the Green Shirts movement. And he spoke with loads of passion about the anxiety and the frustration within the farming community there. Remote regulation by satellite, poor ground truthing, lack of management of national parks, and counterproductive laws on vegetation management. They are all causing resentment towards politicians and environmentalists, who farmers there feel have a poor grasp of what's actually going on the ground. I also met sugarcane growers in the Great Barrier Reef catchment who were described to me as issue fatigued, because their efforts to protect this globally significant ecosystem are either going unacknowledged or are just not enough. And the result of this, tragically, is a farming industry that is rapidly disconnecting from the cause. What my travels have told me is that no amount of new environmental rules or mechanisms for support can achieve their goal until relationships improve and stakeholders come together with a more positive attitude towards one another. My heart sinks when I hear farmers classed as the challenge or the problem. We urgently need to become the solution, but how do we do that? So my Nuffield moment of awakening came when I met researchers at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences who were looking into the valuing of tacit and local knowledge in Indigenous communities through a multiple evidence-based approach. Now, I'm a simple Shropshire farm girl, small brain, so to be honest, it took my brain a little while to catch up. But when I got there, I was super excited because what this was all about was the fact that farmers know stuff about their local patch and we desperately need to use this better. Because when we use farmers' embedded knowledge, we're accessing a very bespoke understanding of how land and weather, or stocking and cropping, interconnect in this landscape, and how markets and other drivers are also influencing our decision-making, both positively and negatively. For environmental delivery, valuing knowledge creates vital opportunities for win-win outcomes. This is a pond on a beef station in Queensland. It was simply constructed by building up a bank at the bottom of a slope. But what it has achieved is quite complex because the pond has become a source of water in drought conditions. It's extended grass growing, but it's also a sediment trap protecting the local creek from siltation. And it was a haven for crazy Australian wildlife that you see when you're out there. To me, what this pond represents is the affordable, practical solutions that farmers are really good at coming up with when they're given the opportunity. Valuing farmer knowledge is also key, I think, to creating rules that work. Ill-fitting rules, in my experience, are resulting in this culture of ticking the box rather than proper engagement with an issue. I see this regularly in my role as farm advisor, weighty documents on complying with an anaerobic digestion permit or habitat rules that don't really make sense to us on the ground. In Romania, I met staff from Fundata Adept, who are a conservation NGO set up to protect the nature-rich landscape of Transylvania, which is really beautiful. Interestingly, their work focus has shifted as a result of their local understanding, and now they spend much more time influencing policy, which is creating rules that fit better locally, that are delivering environmental results and are also improving farm incomes in the area. How then do we engage farmers so we can use their knowledge? To overcome the scepticism and reticence that is evident in parts of our industry, we need to encourage ownership of the environmental issues, and we need to support farmers to deliver the change their way. In Ireland, I witnessed payment by results schemes which offer enough flexibility to allow farmers to enhance habitats using their experience of that landscape and at a level which suits their farm practice from one year to the next. This freedom to farm approach achieves a natural progression towards habitat improvement because farmers are thinking about it a bit more. Another initiative I visited in Ireland was the Pearl Mussel Project, which is attempting to change the relationship between wildlife and farmers by making this protected species a business opportunity rather than a regulatory hurdle. For the concept of natural capital to work, I think we need to create these positive relationships between nature and farming where we as farmers want to have this stuff on our farm and be proud about it being there, not frightened of the consequences of it. Making farmers a platform for science, I think, is another key to getting our industry more engaged. It gave me huge satisfaction meeting groups of farmers in New Zealand and in the Netherlands who are tackling environmental issues by collecting their own local data and then using that data to find solutions which fit their farm businesses. This beautiful picture was taken, not by me, by a friend in Friesland, where the farmers in Nature Collective are working with researchers to look at the relationship between soil health and raised water levels. The aim of the trial is to find this sweet point at which land can play this really important dual role that we must start providing, which is of efficient food production, but also of breeding wader habitat in this example. I looked beyond our industry as well for support for my ideas, and the importance of collaborating with science better was brought home to me when I talked to the Marine Sustainability Council in Sweden about the challenges of valuing the practical knowledge and experience of fishermen when informing policy. Farmer input, like that of the fishing industry, has this kind of awkward fit with the way in which we develop policy. And as a result, it can kind of lack the punch that science can have. So, are we talking then about a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down one? I don't think so, because in both of these scenarios, one party's input is being put above another. In the Netherlands, there was scepticism from environmental NGOs as to whether the farmer-led nature collectives there that deliver agri-environmental support are capable of driving sufficient change and capable of challenging their own farm practices enough. To be credible to one another, all stakeholders, I think, need to be part of a kind of a network driving change that's going to joint own this challenge. So where does all this take us? Nature recovery networks. They are a concept championed by the environmental NGOs to protect species and habitats at a landscape scale. And they will look something similar to this network map for Shropshire. I want to see farmers informing this process in a really positive way and taking what we know about our landscape and including it in this conversation. We need to turn this into an opportunity where hosting wildlife on our farms or protecting it on the adjacent land becomes a really important business asset to us. And to do this, I want to create functioning networks of people in this same landscape willing to pool knowledge and collaborate to find solutions. Now, Sarah's going to tell me off for running over here, but just before I came in here, I picked up an email from the RPA to say that I've been successful in getting funded for a North Shropshire Farmers Cluster Group. And this is exactly what we want to do. I've got some guys who are in the room here who are going to be part of that, hopefully. We want to own this, and we're going to make it happen. So I'm really excited about that. My three messages to scientists, policymakers, I ask, embed farmers at the development of policy and of projects from the outset. Practical and local knowledge can enhance the value of research and make it more relevant to us, more functional. Environmental organisations, I applaud your vast knowledge of habitats and species. It is a huge asset, and if we can use that really positively and collaboratively, it will be the vehicle by which we drive change. And to farmers, I ask this: change is ahead in so many respects for our industry. I want us to grab the environmental agenda by the horns and make it ours. We must look beyond the negative noise, and we need to become that solution. Because by working with NGOs and working with the science community, we can achieve those really important win-win outcomes that will work for our farm businesses and will work for the farmed environment. Thank you.